Lynn in 1986, and we practiced law together for 15 years. Now, at that time, Lynn had transitioned into being a full-time employment lawyer, and it was a very exciting time in the employment law field, and Lynn was at the forefront of the development of employment law in Colorado. She was instrumental in 2 Colorado Supreme Court cases establishing the claims for implied contract and for the public policy wrongful discharge claims. And she was a founder of the Colorado Plaintiffs Employment Lawyers Association, and she served as the chair of that board for in excess of 20 years. Now, Lynn can best be described as an out-of-the-box thinker. She loves to ruminate on new legal theories, and she was instrumental in the development of Colorado employment law. And she's been recognized nationally as an expert on employment law. She's been active in the National Employment Lawyers Association. She's been named a fellow of the ABA College of Labor and Employment Lawyers. She's been listed in Best Lawyers in America and named a Colorado Super Lawyer year after year after year. She's been a speaker on employment law both in Colorado and nationally, and she's written extensively. Lynn has been described aptly as the Dean of Colorado employment law. Now, as Leslie mentioned, she's litigated many discrimination cases, including sex, race, age, disability, but she is best known as a sex discrimination lawyer. She's represented literally thousands of women in discrimination cases and has worked tirelessly for 3 decades on behalf of women who worked in non-traditional jobs for females. And like Mary Lathrop, she has many firsts in her legal career. She sued the Denver Fire Department on behalf of women who went on to become the first female firefighters in Denver. As Leslie mentioned, she tried the first sexual harassment case in the nation. She sued the Denver Police Department on behalf of a class of women who sought to be police officers, and she invalidated the police department's strength and agility tests, which basically no woman could pass. She successfully pursued a class action on behalf of all the female workers at the Denver Mint, alleging sex discrimination in a hostile work environment. Now, this case attracted national attention. It was reported in the Wall Street Journal and on the cover of the Denver Post, and it resulted in a $9 million settlement. Lynn represented the charging parties in a national class action on behalf of female employees against Outback Steakhouse. That resulted in a $19 million settlement. Over the years, Lynn has represented thousands of women who worked in mines, construction, warehouses, grocery stores, trucking firms, power plants, police departments, fire departments, and who've been subjected to gross sex discrimination, sexual harassment, and retaliation. Lynn is not only a really talented lawyer, she's a multi-talented individual. And I thought I'd share a few of the facts that aren't so well known about Lynn. Lynn's getting nervous about this. Lynn married her husband, John Woody Woodruff, at the top of Arapahoe Basin during a snowstorm on the 4th of July. Lynn's an expert skier, though, and she skied down the mountain in her beautiful white dress with her matching white ski boots in blinding snow. Lynn is an artist, and she has an extraordinary eye for home design and an appetite for old house restoration. She's designed and restored over a dozen homes in Colorado. Many of these homes were on the verge of falling down, and Lynn restored them to perfection. Lynn is currently expressing herself as a painter. She takes classes, and she exhibits her work at galleries. Lynn's also a fabulous cook and a gracious hostess. And all of these homes she designed had beautiful kitchens and wonderful areas for entertaining. Lynn is an athlete. She's actually hiked all over the world, including being one of the first Westerners allowed to hike across the country of Bhutan. And Lynn is the proud mother of Josh Feiger, who is married to Jenny Feiger, and these are Lynn's beautiful grandchildren, Wiley and Felix. Now, not only has Lynn been instrumental in the development of employment law in Colorado, but she's really influenced and trained many of the best plaintiff employment lawyers here. And she's taught many of us how to be lawyers, but she's particularly focused on training women lawyers. And Lynn's secrets to success for women lawyers are, well, they can be somewhat unique. So I thought I'd share some of her advice on dress. Lynn told everyone to buy a black power suit. Now, Lynn's brand, St. John's Knit, preferably with large gold buttons. However, no St. John's knits for you if your butt is too big. Ladies, do not wear cheap shoes. Lynn's footwear of choice, Ferragamo. And never wear a low-powered flowered dress. I did that once. I'm from Iowa. Cars. Now, Lynn would suggest that you need to buy a fancy car. It intimidates the defense lawyers. And you should indulge in an automotive fantasy at least once in your life. On psychology. Lynn is a student of psychology. As you heard, her father was a psychiatrist, her first husband was a psychiatrist. Lynn has lots of advice in this area. Beware the client who has no boundaries. Pay attention to family patterns. Leslie touched on that. The mother lawyer, father psychiatrist, first husband psychiatrist. Consider how your mother is affecting you. One day Lynn came in my office and said, "Your mother is really large. You need to shrink her." I did that. I visualized my mother on my shoulder, looking at me. It was helpful. And actually, this topic of how you get along with your mother spilled over into our practice. And one of Lynn's favorite interview questions for prospective lawyers was, "Tell me about your relationship with your mother." And one of the more memorable responses from a young male lawyer was, "Can I get back to you on that?" Well, he did. Sent us an email and said, "It's complicated." So we hired him. Lynn's advice on being a litigator. Being a litigator is about being a lawyer. It is either in you or it isn't, and you'd better figure it out quick. On cases going bad, deal with the hard negative facts. If you have to extricate yourself from a case, do it sooner rather than later. And people lie. It's not your fault. On business travel, make time to go to a fun restaurant, do some shopping, go to an antique store, stay at a historic hotel. Lawyers who just work and have no fun are dull. On trolls. A troll is Lynn's term for the bad bosses in the workplace. Now, Lynn actually has a website called Employee Rights Advice on the Job. And there you will find her classification of trolls. Love trolls, good old trolls, creepy trolls, vain trolls. You'll also find the companion to that, which are the gremlins. Now, these are the difficult peers and subordinates who are undermining you in the workplace. It's quite entertaining reading. On the Good Old Girls Network, join the Colorado Women's Bar Association. Pick a specialty. Tell everybody in every bar association what you do, even if you just picked your specialty yesterday. Remember all your women lawyer friends. They're a great source of referrals, and you will need them at some point. And finally, Lynn was asked recently about her advice for new women attorneys. And Lynn had this to say: "A lifespan is long, you can do it all, but you need to be patient. You can't do it all at the exact same time." Very sage advice from a woman who's done it all. Please